First of all, I wanted to give a very warm welcome to Ravi Sarogi, the CEO and founder at Uniphore. Thank you. Thank you, Nitin. Of course, thank you for being here. And I know we're keeping this is the last and the most exciting part of the day. We save the best for last before dinner. And hopefully, Ravi, you can join us for dinner for extending this conversation. But we talked a lot today about hyperscale, speed, and I was guilty about 30 minutes back telling you about how fast some of the startups are growing in their first 6 months. But as with everything that a VC says, please take it with a grain of salt, because actually great companies are not built in any one way. There are different journeys, and one of the most important aspects right now is to remind everyone that fundamentals still matter and what it takes to build a large, enduring business that can not just raise VC money, but actually become a giant company. And who better than Ravi to talk about the journey of being both a pioneer in India in the AI domain and then going through the ups and downs for over a decade, and now finally also being not just the pioneer, but also being one of the largest scale AI companies to come out of India. So thank you so much, Ravi, for giving us the time. Welcome you with a round of applause. And before we go further, for him to get a good sense, although we've said all the nice things about this cohort, why don't we just take 5 founders, raise their hand, and talk about what you're building? All right, let's start with you. I can see very well. Nahal, right?
Yeah, hi. So we are building the first agentic AI e-commerce platform. So it offers like a full suite of AI which helps you with customization, with AI testing, A/B testing, and product discovery as well. So that merchant only needs to focus on what they want to sell and not. So we are like enabling merchant to focus on what they want, what they do best is selling, and yeah.
Awesome. All right, who else? Let's do it quick. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. This person looks like they're 15, and guess what they are?
So we are building reasoning models which are 5 to 10 times more time, token, and cost efficient than models like DeepSeek R1 and Gemini 2.5 Flash. This we have achieved with a new approach called intermediate reasoning, which, unlike traditional reasoning models, which thinks first and then responds, what our AI model does is that it reasons a little bit on top, then it gives a partial response, then it reasons a little bit, and then it continues that response for until it follows this pattern until full response is achieved. So like this approach made our AI model beat DeepSeek R1 and Gemini 2.5 Flash in benchmarks like Math 500, AIME 2024.
Awesome. Thank you. Someone from the back. All the way. Yeah. I can't see who it is.
Hey teacher, so we are building collection as a service which is intent-based and specifically using voice AI agents and multiple workflows to solve the NPSC problem in recollection during 0 to 30 days PPT. And specifically targeting mid-scale and small-scale NPSCs right now because the cost of recollection is very high for these NPSCs.
You will throw us out of our business.
Not yet. Yes, please.
Hi, I am Sahil. We are building a full stack AI Big Four kind of consulting firm. That's the vision. But to start off, we have started with cybersecurity and governance and GRC compliance, and we are building an AI stack for that, helping all the other startups to achieve their compliance quickly.
Wonderful. Last one for now, and we'll continue it afterwards. Yeah.
So we have built world's fastest CI runners right now. So like in GitHub, like your CI normal software delivery was taking suppose 20 minutes. With our platform, it will take 5 minutes, 3 minutes depending upon your CI infra. But minimum from 3x to 10x you can get. At the same moment, up to 75% of cost savings you can get. We have tested across all the benchmarks and our MVP is live right now.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Just wanted to give you a taste. We spoke about these guys are 1% of the pool who applied, but I wanted you to hear about kinds of things people were building. But starting with your journey, Ravi, tell us who you are. Tell us where you grew up.
Thank you, Nitin, Team Antler, for having me here. It's amazing to see what you got here. I think, first of all, Sahil, you got a lot of other companies to sell to within this room itself. So go and make your monies out there. Yeah, and if they don't pay, then charge it to Nitin.
Without payments.
Oh, nice. Okay, wonderful. And then if your collections are not happening, you have got Hitesh there to help you out. Thank you. I am Ravi Sarogi, one of the co-founders of Uniphore. Our journey, as Nitin was saying, is not of that started yesterday or a month back or a year back and then they suddenly grew. That's not who we are. I finished my college back in 2007. It's like another era. I still call myself, Gen X, Gen Z, whatever, the current Gen Alpha. Thanks to my son, I keep learning the new lingos, but technically I'm still a millennial only. Started the company through an ecosystem called RTBI, which was an incubator at IIT Madras. So I finished my college, which was not IIT. It is called JP Institute in Noida. And my roots are actually from Guwahati, Assam. I don't know how many of you have gone to northeast of India, but it's a beautiful part of the country. I come from that part of the country. Like any other aspiring engineer, went to Kota, did my preparation for entrance examination. Day one in Kota, had a great realization that, sorry, I cannot get inside IIT. That's not who I am. Cannot study for 18 hours a day. But I had this fondness of engineering, wanted to do stuff and build something on my own, which led me to JP Institute in Noida, finished my engineering in computer science, and then got an opportunity to talk to a professor at IIT Madras called Professor Ashok Jhunjhunwala. He's a Padma Bhushan himself. Was pioneer in building the first telecom network in India, the first sort of mobile payments in India, etc. A lot of things that he has done in his own sort of way. And I've been fortunate of being part of some of his initiatives as well. But what happened during college is we started a company back in college, me and my other co-founder, Umesh. And we managed to sell it to one telco, whatever product we built back then, and made some money. So when you had some money in college, which you have sold, and you're just like superheroes in your college itself. So that gave us a realization, oh my God, what we have done. We can beat the world today, right? And then came in the slew of failures, one after the other. We went to another telco, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and everyone rejected us. They met us because, you cannot decline college kids. You cannot demoralize them. So everyone met us, said, we have great product, but then nothing happened after that. Which helped us connect to Professor Jhunjhunwala at IIT Madras. And he said, hey, listen, if you have something in telecom, you understand tech, you want to start a business, after your college, come join IIT Madras. We'll take you in as project associate. We have an incubator. And that probably will help you, pick up a couple of projects in the same domain. But if you want to continue with your own stuff, let me give you a brutal shock. That will never work. If you want to do what you are doing, then continue where you are. But if you want to really work hard and do something which you can make big, come and join IIT. So we ditched the first idea, went to IIT Madras. And wow, it was culture shock, weather shock, language shock, food shock, all of it together. But we survived the first 6 months. And, Chennai, Tamil Nadu in that manner it's like fine wine. Once you get hang of it, it's the best drink to have. And that's what Chennai was for us. It suddenly grew on us, became home. And I keep joking to my wife that someday when I retire, let's retire in Chennai. That's a place that we love. So, first year or so was tough. We got a couple of projects. One of them, we cracked the business model, or we thought we cracked the business model. We cracked the tech, which then eventually became Uniphore. So 2008, after working for a year or so at IIT as project associates, I remember going to the labs, which we got as office, one of the labs sponsored by Intel, going every morning at 8:30, 9 a.m. and working until 2 a.m. every single day, including Sundays for the first year. I don't remember if I visited Marina Beach after the first day in Chennai for a year. And it was brutal, it was tough, but a lot of learnings. I think first stint in Kota, where I had to survive on my own, then in college and hostel, then in Chennai with 2-3 other random roommates who were trying to start something on their own as well. There were varied experiences which shaped the person who I am today, going through all those struggles. But after a year of sort of cracking all of it, we formally incorporated Uniphore as an entity in 2008. And believe it or not, this is the only thing I've done in my life. There's no corporate experience. So if you ask me for my corporate experience, you should look somewhere else or here. But yeah, I'm here to share my experiences. I'm really happy that I'm here and all excited. And it's been what, about 17 years of running the same thing over and over again. Yeah, through different sort of variations around Uniphore.
So we'll connect the dots, but now jump all the way to where you are, and again, to the extent you can share, tell us about what Uniphore today is, how big it is, how many employees, what scale, how much money you've raised, so that I think the audience would really love that context.
Uniphore has gone through its own sort of pivots, and after a business is hanging around for 17 odd years, in this current world of fast moving tech, if you don't pivot, you will die. So we constantly pivoted our business. And if you look at the current form of Uniphore, it's purely focused on delivering enterprise AI through our platform, what we call as Business AI Cloud. So Uniphore is a business AI company for business users. And today we are present in close to about 20 countries. Our headquarters being in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley, and close to about 850 odd people, of which 50% are in India and 50% across different parts of the world. We today deliver our business AI cloud and the products which are running on top of it to large enterprises, have close to about 2,000 enterprise customers across the globe, from Australia to Bay Area, across the globe in about 20 countries, as I've told, serving 13 different verticals. And overall, the company has raised close to 5 rounds of funding, a little more than $600 odd million, which, coincidentally, without any investment banker in place. So we did it all on our own by reaching out to potential investors and really sharing our journey and our story and what we believe in.
And the business is roughly 150, 200 million in sales, right?
Yeah, thereabouts, growing at about 60 to 70% year on year.
Wow. So, obviously there's a long journey and we want to talk about some of that and AI, etc. But how do you see the phases of this journey? I actually asked ChatGPT to describe the phases and talks about 3 phases. Of course, the first few years that you were actually trying to solve the conversational AI problem for non-English users in India. And kudos to anyone who was trying to go after this problem in 2008-10, that time frame. And then the second phase, which is sort of the finding enterprise and voice and US focus, right? And then, of course, now the third phase, which is your hypergrowth phase with GenAI. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the most amazing sort of stat that I came across, which is for the first 6 years, Uniphore went from 0 to 300K-ish revenue. The last 6 years, 8 million all the way to $150 million. So, it's a great case study in grit. And I'd love for you to walk us through sort of how you see those phases.
Well, I could not have put it that beautifully, but thank you. I can divide Uniphore's journey in probably 3 or different sort of pivots, if I may call it. So started as a conversational AI company, really focusing on regional languages in India. We were trying to solve the problem of information and transaction delivery to the grassroots levels of the country. And we realized that there were two big challenges. One, access to tech, and access to information using English as a language was a big problem. So the tech problem was solved by having at least one mobile device back then in a household, which was largely a feature phone. And because it was a feature phone, the only mode of communication was voice. And back in the day, I mean, for some of you, especially I don't know if you're 20 or not, but he's 15. 15, wonderful. Back in the day, uh, people used to keep a diary in their pocket, and the numbers were written there. There was no sort of usage of phone book in the phone itself. And they used to take out the diary and dial the number and a red button and a green button. That was the only thing that people used to use mobile phone for. So the only medium of delivery of information or carrying out transaction was voice. So that's how Uniphore started, going deep into the deeper pockets of the country. Starting with Tamil Nadu, I went to places like Nagapattinam, Theni, Nagarkoil, etc. And I don't know Tamil at all, right? So back in the day, traveling and really understanding how people would speak, what kind of transactions they would sort of execute, how would they speak, what kind of queries they would ask. We did all of it. Went to different states, different use cases were identified. But we realized that we are not here to create a B2C organization. We are here to create a B2B organization. So all those learnings were carved into specific use cases around agriculture, banking, retail, etc. And then we identified large enterprises in India who would really benefit from such mechanism of information delivery and transactions being carried out. So banks, agri companies like ITC, Murugappa Group, Cholamandalam Finance, etc., all became our customers. But that was the first sort of 6-7 years of our journey. When we had a lot of repeatable use cases, right? Deep down, always wanted to build a product company, and we were building specific use cases by them. So we found out repeatable use cases and we said, okay, this is a great moment for us to really convert Uniphore from a services organization which is focused on deep tech to a deep tech product company. And that sort of really changed the dimensions of who we are as an organization, right? So 10 years now and 7 years running the company, we really pivoted the company back then. And, some of you understand finance really well. We had capital cash available in bank, but the balance sheet was showing zero in terms of organization value in one day, because we pivoted the company and we said we are a product company now. So whatever cash was left in the bank had literally no value attached to it. So imagine working for 7 years, really going deeper into every aspect of building a business, and then you realize your investors are marking you at zero today. It was interesting, but we got our first investors back then. Chirate came in as investor, Indian Angel Network came in as an investor, Yon Nest, which was another Series A angel round providing capital in that fashion, they came in as an investor. And we ran the company in 2017, went global. That was the second sort of market pivot for us. From product to going global, it was a big step. But what we realized was that we could have done it earlier. Or had we done it earlier, the story could have been a little different for us. But, it came as it came. I went to Singapore, started this Asia ecosystem for the company. And that's when we realized what we were selling in India could have been sold 3 times more. With the same kind of effort required to deliver that service, a product, we could have made much more. And 2017 was a time when we met John Chambers. Back in the day, he was a chairman and CEO of Cisco, built the most valuable company in the world. And he came on board as a mentor first. And after 6-7 months of mentorship, he said, hey, I like you guys. I know Prime Minister Modi really well. He wanted me to focus on some of the companies in India, and I like you guys. So let's make it strategic. I would like to invest. When someone like John says, I want to invest, we called it Series B immediately. So we got the monies from him, other investors pulled in. That gave us enough capital to go to US. My other co-founder went to US. And then, 2019 was the third pivot, which actually changed the dimensions for us in a big way. That was the moment when the growth really skyrocketed. We actually had multiple products by then, but this was a moment where we converted our company as a platform company, where we took every part of IP that we built over the years into microservices and plugged them all into one single platform. That really opened up the market for us to go into acquisitive mode, acquire more assets, embed their technology into our platform. What could have taken us 3 years, now we could acquire an asset and really enable that send tech in 3 months. And as you start building that tech layer, right, access to customers, access to new tech, being ahead in the game all the time became much more easier for us. And now the final and the fourth pivot that we did was really moving into an era where we continue to deliver our voice AI, conversational AI products, but that's running on the business AI cloud ecosystem, which is a full stacked 4-layer cake that we have, which we today enable and sell to large enterprises globally. So that's the journey, 4 pivots. Each one of them had a really different meaning to the organization. And yeah, here we are. The first 6 years, did you ever feel like this may not go anywhere, maybe you should give up? I would be wrong if I say no. Probably a dozen times. What kept you going? Well, I think 2 things. While I come from a background where I have not seen anyone in my family holding a corporate job, so I had no idea what a corporate job is. I always wanted to start something on my own because I've seen that around my family. And I've seen those tough days seen by my parents, by my grandparents, etc. And I knew how hard they fought for other things. So perhaps DNA issue. But other than that, I think ignorance, because we never knew how hard the problem is. We just kept going at it. Right? Back in the day, such ecosystems were not prevalent. And back in the day also, a failed startup was not seen in a positive way. So we had no other option. So we had plan A, which was to make Uniphore work, and we had plan B, which was to make plan A work. Go ahead, Gauri.
So very, very interesting. I think each of the 4 pivots, Ravi, and some of these are pertinent positions for the founders as well, right? 2 of them in particular, D2C versus B2B, and India versus global, right? So how would you advise a early stage corporate entrepreneur to think about those questions and how to decide?
Well, I think it's perhaps the most important question in my opinion. I think there are 2 reasons why startups fail. The top 2 reasons. There are many reasons why startups fail, but the top 2 reasons. The second most important reason is because the co-founders don't gel well, and when that happens, it invariably takes the startup down. But the topmost reason why the startups fail is product market fit. And very early when you are thinking about your journey, the demarcation of being a B2C company or a B2B company is very, very important, because that would define what your PMF is, that would define how you build your tech, how you build your models, including AI, large language models that you want to incorporate, etc., etc. So entire stack changes from tech perspective, depending on how you are gunning for the problem, B2C or a B2B. Now, if I think about the market itself, if you're a B2C company, India is a great market. Great market. If you look at the current consumption and the internet usage, right, it's growing. It was only urban cities back in the day. Today, going to tier 2, eventually will go to tier 3, where internet would be used. Services will be consumed, and the economic strata is changing constantly. India has grown in per capita income by about 3 or 4 times in the last decade and a half, and that would continue to aggressively grow as well. So buying patterns are changing, consumption patterns are changing, which effectively means that consumer startups has a great path ahead within the country. But if you're a B2B startup and going by the journey that we have gone through, and I'm not here to give gyan and all, I'm just sharing my experiences. B2B startup would find India to be a very tough market. It's not that the market cannot be cracked. Profitability can be achieved in India, but there are intrinsic issues in terms of the buying pattern by enterprises in India. When they look at an Indian startup selling a B2B software or a AI agent or whatever it may be, the first thought process to the enterprise is, I'm doing favor to you. So give it for free, and then we'll see how do I pay you. By that time, your AWS bill will sunk you in already. And the other challenge is, even if they agree to pay, right, the payment comes with so much delay that you have to literally beg to the enterprise for your own services that you've delivered with the right thought process and everything. Now, things are changing, flowing gradually, especially if we're selling to new age unicorns, etc. The buying patterns are very different. But traditional enterprise selling motion is very tough in India. Yes, you can make monies out of it, you can be profitable. But if you're a B2B enterprise, then think of build in India, but build for the world. Right? Think early in the day, how do you go global? Raise your fund accordingly, but build your tech from that perspective.
I have one follow-up question. As I said, I would have gone to global sooner, right? Now, this one of the common questions in founders is, should I actually get my design partners in India first, prove it here, and then go global? Versus straight away going to the US market. Any suggestions on how to think about it?
I don't think that's a wrong strategy. I think that's a good strategy. The challenge going to US though is that you need enormous amount of capital. The moment you hire a salesperson to sell your products in the US market, that's $1 million gone for the year. Travel, marketing, minimal budget, salary, etc. That's done. So unless you have deep pockets or unless you have raised enough funds, don't think about US. But that does not mean that you cannot think about going outside India. Start with India, that's absolutely fine. Test your technology, test the buying pattern, test the billing models, access management, everything. But then instead of thinking outside India 3 years, 4 years later, my suggestion would be think outside India a year, 18 months later only. Don't go so long that, hey, let's do it now. Now is the right time. There is never a right time. The moment you jump, that's the right time. So that would be my suggestion. But one thing, if you're going outside India, this is a trend that I've seen with some of the founders, most of the founders in India, is that we don't think about marketing as much. When you go outside India, marketing becomes a very, very important tool. The designs, the way your website looks, the way your technology looks, the way your interfaces look, has to be slick, has to be kick-ass. Don't discount on that when you think going outside India. Indian buyers, they will buy a suboptimal user interface. A buyer outside India will never go for it. Your first advantage, your only advantage is the first look of your tools. And first impressions will create a long way of you penetrating that market. AI is also blurring the lines between sort of service and product, right? What exactly, and it is to say you are offering an outcome as a service versus product. But before we get to that, you described your journey: service, product, platform. This is a really hard transition that lots of startups think they can make, but they actually don't, right? And from the outside, you can estimate what those reasons might be, the kind of team you have, the DNA, the trade-offs that go in saying no to customers when you go to a product versus service, not customizing anything, standardizing, all of those things. But you guys seem to have pulled that transition off very smoothly. I don't know if you feel there was something that really helped you get there. I'll go back to the same answer that had we not done those pivots, especially from services to product, we could have survived. It would have been a lifestyle business for us, which we did not want. So that was more internal. But post that, once we transitioned into a product company, it became survival. Had we not pivoted, I think we would have died by now, very easily. And even in today's day and era, right, you talk about conversational AI. Imagine a situation where access to an AWS or a Microsoft Azure platform or a GCP platform, today anyone who has access to that platform can build their co-pilot with voice. It's not that tough. So if an enterprise wants to build their own voice agent, they can pretty much do it themselves. Of course, it requires a lot of other things in terms of backend integration, etc., etc. But let's say an HDFC Bank or an Axis Bank or an SBI, etc., they can themselves do it. So in the next 3-4 years, if I continue with my conversational AI pattern, sooner or later, organizations will invest and do it themselves. Specific use case based applications that they want. Now, there are two ways for me to survive this journey. Either I become and expand my market from large enterprise to mid market and SME, etc., and expand my base of customers so that I remain relevant. But then I'll be one of many. Alternate option is that what enterprises are trying to do by building their own agents, etc., let them use Uniphore as their platform of choice and then have that longevity and stickiness built in through my platform. And conversational AI then becomes one small part of the overall equation for them. So now the option that we are giving, the choice that we are giving to our customer is either you go with Microsoft or a Google or an AWS and lock in with one of those platforms, or come to Uniphore and then have that sovereignty and agnostic aspect of it covered all through. And the reason why we chose this journey is purely survival, right? Otherwise, I see that in the next 3-4 years, probably Uniphore would be dead.
Just to clarify a question on the platform pivot for you happened once you had a certain scale. Would you advise founders to start with a platform view? That's not very hard to pull off, right?
First of all, it's a founder's choice, which direction they want to go to. And if you talk about platform, I don't think thinking about the tech day one should be the first approach. The first approach should be what problem I'm solving. I think the first principle is going back to the basics. What am I solving? Right. Am I building a product first and then trying to manufacture a problem? And then telling the customer, say, I'm solving this problem for you, which is actually non-existent, and I'm manufacturing it? Or taking an approach that this is really a problem, this is the solution to it, then it can be a product-based solution or a platform-based solution or maybe just a service-based solution.
Yeah. Got it.
All right. We will go now to the second part, which is thoughts on AI and what is different about building in this new wave. But before that, any questions from anyone? To change? Yeah. Okay. Please. You can just shout out, I think.
Sorry, we need to ask this question directly, but when you are selling this voice AI to these companies which had got bags of per personnel, right? Essentially, you are convinced to sort of abandon something assisted it after like maybe 50 years or 30 years or 40 years. What was your experience in actually being able to, walk them through moving from that system to conversational voice AI? Because we super wouldn't have thought you had a problem in the first place, I presume, because that was just literally the business model for 30 years. That's my presumption.
Are you talking about the customer service domain that they have, where they have a lot of people answering those calls?
Yes, for example.
So again, you look at the scalability issue here, right? When you are in a country like India, and let's say it's a large bank, and today that bank is present across the country, literally for every customer, they have to have, first of all the channels available to service them, which is customer service agent, which is the human agent, a mobile app, a website, a chat application, an email service. All kinds of channels should be provided so that customer service can be delivered. But beyond that, India adds another complexity to it, which is a language problem attached to it. That not only that service has to be accessed over channels, but it has to be accessed over the same language that the consumer is there. Now, if I am expanding my network, let's say in a state like West Bengal, and then going to Punjab, and then going to Maharashtra, I need to have agents who can speak Marathi, who can speak Bengali, who can speak Punjabi, etc. And to do that constantly with more and more headcounts is extremely challenging, operationally very difficult as well. If I can replace that problem with a technology, which is a voice application, which can understand local language, deliver the information in local language, can be scalable whenever required, and I'm not saying that I'm solving all of your problems. What I'm doing is I'm doing an 80-20 approach, taking up 20% of the conversations, which is today taking 80% of my customer agent time. And if there are 20 queries that a customer agent is handling, if I'm able to just take care of 10% or 50% of it, which is 10 of them, I'm actually bringing down the cost and the effect of customer service by 50%. And that was the main objective that we went to. And also look at the cost of service. So if a human being lands in a branch, we actually did a whole economics around it, lands in a branch, the cost to service that human being is 25 to 50 rupees. Just to cost to service that human being is 250 rupees. But when that customer calls a call center and a human being picks up, it's 25 rupees. That's about 1/10 of a cost. The same query, if it is resolved by a voice-enabled IVR, the cost is 2.5 rupees. And when you take those metrics and you solve 50% of that problem, then it becomes a no-brainer to be adopted for any enterprise.
And just to really say, in a way, you identified the problem that the company was going out of this comfort zone, basically. And you saw it at that particular point, and then it's expanded outwards. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we picked up that for a bank, we did for agri, we did for collection, we did for microfinance, etc. All of it. More questions before we go into what's it like to build a fast-growing company today in AI? Okay.
Yeah, let's move into the AI and the tech world.
I'll introduce you to my SVP of engineering. Will that be okay?
So, my question is, how did the whole thing change for you with the generative AI?
Uniphore has been working in AI for the last 17 years. That's number one. So there has been some intrinsic knowledge about how AI works. But then there was an open source tech released by one of the universities in the US, which was around the transformers technology back in 2017-18. And we were one of the first ones to adopt it because there was a customer need. The need was very simple, that when a call comes to a call center, the agent has to summarize the entire call. And when they summarize the entire call, it takes about 3 to 4 minutes to summarize that call. And that during those 3 to 4 minutes, the agent is not taking any other call. And per hour billing in the US is roughly about $25. So if you take that entire mechanism, in a day, the agent is just spending roughly hour and a half summarizing calls, which is about $25 of productivity gone. And with a 1,000-seater call center, that's $25,000 of saving. In a month, roughly about $500,000. In a year, roughly about $6 million of saving that we're talking about. Now, for us to summarize that call, we needed a tech which allowed us to go through the entire conversation and summarize that. And transformers really solved that problem for us. Now, of course, it was very hard to explain to enterprise. So when you go to any enterprise, right, be it India or outside, when you say our technology, our platform, our products are enabled with AI, you say, explain how, show me how, do a demo, do a proof of concept, etc., etc. And that went on for 2, 3 years, 4 years, in fact. But thanks to OpenAI, when they launched ChatGPT, everyone was like, we now know how AI works. So for us, actually, the benefit was the evangelizing process just went away in one single day. Much like when Google launched its Google Voice in India, I did not have to explain anymore how voice would work. People knew how voice would work. Similarly, with ChatGPT, when they launched, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the problem of how AI would work. So that actually took off 4 to 5 months of our selling cycle. Earlier, we had to really take 3, 4 months just to explain how AI worked. That was taken off from our sales cycle. So what would have been about 8, 9 months of selling cycle came down to about 4, 5 months of selling cycle.
Got it. Now that's great to know. But I think along with OpenAI also came a lot of competition, right? Because it provided the voice capability to many folks. So how do you think about competition, defensibility in this fast-paced world?
I think we're discussing this inside as well. See, with the advent of large language models, generative AI, tech, what has happened is it has actually democratized the tech layer. largely. Everyone has access to pretty much the underlying tech. And now with AWS and the cloud ecosystems like AWS, GCP, Azure, Alibaba, etc., you not only have the cloud along with generative AI, the entire tech stack available to you. So there are 2 or 3 modes effectively. One of the biggest modes that you have is the data. If you have to enable AI, you need data and relevant data. It's not just any random data that you look at, right? So the problem that you are solving is the first important element. The second important element is the data that you have around that, which would solve that problem. But the third biggest defense, in my opinion, that anyone would have, given a technology has largely been democratized, is your customer base. If you're able to actually solve the problem and you have the right data to solve it, you will be able to generate an AI application or an AI product or an AI platform around it or an AI agent around it. It then effectively means that how quickly you can sell. Because the bigger the customer base you have, bigger the defense you will have. At this point in time, if you look at, I think a couple of days back, a research study was published by MIT.
Yeah.
That 95% of the POCs have failed. Only 5% have survived. Very interestingly, if you look at those 5%, those are very, very use case specific applications. Very use case specific. And the reason they survived is because they're solving a particular problem with the data of that particular use case. And that's how they survived. And the more you play in that domain, the more it will work. In fact, if you look at Meta, it has done a hiring freeze a couple of weeks back. They are not hiring anymore. 4 weeks back, they were hiring engineers at $100 million of bonuses and whatnot. Is LLM the right way to go? Many of those questions are still there. Is SLM the way to look at where you build user-specific applications? It all sort of is now being discussed, being worked at. So it's a very interesting sort of phase that we are going through. But I think the basics again, solving a problem, you have the right data to solve that problem. You have the mode becomes then your defense becomes your customers after that. Yeah.
So it's a land grab in a way right now.
Yes, absolutely.
What else is different? How are you guys thinking about your own internal org and hiring?
It's extremely hard challenge to solve. It's not easy in any which way, Nitin. So imagine, from a services company to a product company, when we transitioned, we had to really reskill, rehire the entire talent base, which comes with a very different thought process of product building rather than services delivery. In today's day and era, the biggest focus is that do people understand data? Do people understand Python as a language? Do people understand generative AI? Right? All of those aspects are like basics. So our entire team at this point in time is going through reskilling. Every individual, including I, we have taken our own courses. We have gone through really understanding what's going around the world in the world of AI. Every hire that we do from the last 6-8 months now are coming with that sort of skill set needs, etc. Even the sellers that we are bringing on board are coming from a perspective that have this so large enterprises, large platforms in the past, not like point SaaS solutions anymore. So everything is undergoing reskilling, rehiring, so that it's a very, very tough challenge to solve. And more importantly, in a way, are also breaking your own culture of the organization to a certain extent, which is also very, very challenging to manage.
And as far as the customer revenues, etc., I mean, one of the risks, of course, is also a lot of spend is exploratory sometimes, right? Right now, people are talking about, are these budgets actually sustainable? Just curious, what do you hear from some of your larger clients, and are they also demanding sort of trying new billing models, right? Do we keep hearing this outcome as a service, etc., or is that still very premature?
No, I think new billing models are being looked at. Again, it has been changing constantly from the perspective that our enterprise customers and some of our partners are also changing their billing models. People who were, for example, selling consulting hours are now selling outcome as a service. So their billing models are changing. And for us, from a pure play SaaS model, we are also going through SaaS to a consumption-based billing model. The more you consume, the more you pay. The more users you have on your platform, the more new use cases can be delivered. That will drive more consumption. So even we are going through our own changes of consumption model from SaaS billing to a consumption model. End of the day, while customers will demand maybe different billing models, if you are able to explain why the billing model that you have chosen is easy to explain, easy to understand, and really delivers the business value. End of the day, for the enterprise or the partner, are we delivering the ROI or not? As simple as that. No matter what billing model I put, there will be one slide on that PowerPoint which will say ROI. And the customer success team has to live by that ROI. If they are able to deliver that ROI, any billing model would survive. But we are transitioning ourselves from a SaaS ecosystem to a consumption-based billing model right now.
Yeah. So one of the other questions is also about the ICP for early stage startups, right? The usual playbook, as you heard, is if you're building for the global or the US market, your entry point should really be mid market, and then you move up market to enterprises, right? Has it been the case for you as well, or how did you manage to crack the enterprise go to market in US?
I mean, I would suggest that don't take the journey that we have taken. We straight away went for large enterprise market. And because of that, it took a lot of time to crack the first customer. Although we had proven our success in other parts of the world, US was very differently. Going mid-market and then going higher up actually is not a bad strategy. It is a wonderful strategy to adopt. Again, as I've told, if you are going to US, ensure that you have enough capital available to yourself. And if you are two co-founders, then at least one of them have to think about relocating to the US. Don't leave it to the salesperson in the US to sell for you. That is not going to work. Day one, just don't adopt that strategy. So mid-market, going higher up is the right approach. One of the co-founders should relocate, have enough funds in place to sustain in that market, and have a long-term view. Have a view that is the market that you have to succeed. If you're succeeding in US market, the color of revenue of that market is very different than the color of revenue anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. One more question on the go-to-market again. Do you work with partners, SI partners, and do you think early stage startups should also use partnership as a go-to-market notion to track global market?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That can be a great go-to-market strategy. But be very careful about not getting into that loop of proof of concept with the partner. What would happen is the partner will constantly tell you, hey, this is a new journey. Let's do a POC with one of our customers. You will do one POC. Then you'll be pulled in for the second POC. You'll be pulled in for the third POC. All of a sudden, 1.5 years have just gone. So, in my opinion, take dual strategy. Yes, invoke 2-3 like-minded partners who are keen, aggressive to go with you, but also go direct. And if you are able to crack a direct deal, then route it through the partner. Give something back to the partner so that motion runs through. If you have to give away some revenue to the partner, that's okay. That will only accelerate your go-to-market motion. But take a dual strategy. I have not seen ever that a partner brings deal day one. It's you who will bring deal to the partner. If they like it, then they will bring deals for you after that. That's how it has been ever, at least for us.
So a couple of last things, and then we'll open up for more questions. What if you met a younger version of yourself, in let's say sitting in this room, and saying, this is starting a company in the same domain, but starting today in this Gen AI, what are 2 or 3 things you would advise that person to do differently versus, let's say, your journey? For it could be hiring, it could be raising capital, it could be, so in other words, what are 2 or 3 things you think you would do differently looking back?
First of all, I'll be very happy being younger again. At least I'll have black hair and some hair left. Seriously. Yeah. I know. I hear you. Hair color helps. uh, if I had to start this again, and that's a question I keep asking myself pretty much every day, that if I had to do this again, I think I would first focus on I think number one focus for me would be really going hard on the problem that I'm solving, and not looking at generally just being enamored with the product. But having said that, when I've logged in that problem, I would rather focus on building the best product in the market, which would be right ready to use with a switch of a button. You just switch on the button, the product is ready to use. Don't get into that loop of integration services, then showing value, etc., etc. The more you sassify your product, the better it is for you to generate that revenue quickly for yourself. The third thing would be just the team part of it. That I would not do anything different, but I would really focus on getting that kick-ass rockstar team in place. If I maybe, wrong words perhaps, but like just get nerds in place. The first 5, 7, 10 hires should be like absolute nerds and fighting for the cause. It's very, very important. Just don't go for suboptimal talent. It will not help. Even if you have to pay a little extra, that's fine. And, build that solid 10, 12 people base within the organization that becomes your core. Just focus on that core, rest all will be taken care of. Just fight for that identification of problem, building a kick-ass product, and the first 10 hires are the most important hires. Most important. Just don't go for some optimal talent in the first 10 hires. Don't do it. That would be a biggest mistake that you would create. The periphery services that you have, I'm sure Enter would help, which is finance, HR, accounting, etc., etc. Outsource them. That's not your core. Don't boil your blood over all those things. Focus on the product, focus on the customer, the first 10 hires. If you're able to crack that, rest all will be very, very easy after that. So you've raised 600 million, which obviously means you have a massive vision. So before we open up to questions, tell us what Uniphore's vision is, and at least what the last round of VCs have really been excited by. The first 100 billion market cap enterprise AI company born out of India. If you're not able to do that, what's the point of spending 17, 18 years on
That deserves applause. But you said I'm assuming a lot of your investors were US investors. So did they really care that it's coming out of India?
No. Yeah. I think this is your personal, this is my personal wish, and my personal thought process is that we want to really build a company which is started out of India but built for the world. The next Google, the next Cisco, the next Meta, the next AWS. That's what Uniphore can be, the next big Uniphore which is coming out of India.
I remember when I met you a few weeks back, and I said, so who do you compete with? I naively was assuming that, you mentioned other conversational AI startups, but who do you compete with in your opinion?
I will say the same answer I gave you. Okay. We were competing with some of the conversational AI companies and some great companies, right? You talk about Nice, Verent, Core.ai, etc. But 18 years back, had someone told me that you will have minimal hair left, whatever left will be gray, you will have to travel like 2.5 weeks every month, but your top 3 competitors will be Microsoft, AWS, and Google, I would have gladly spent 18 years. But again, ignorance was bliss. It worked out. I will take all the credit for it. And so those 3 are our current competitors today. Yes.
Okay.
And probably Salesforce as well.
We have a rapid fire to close, but before that, audience questions. Who has a question? Yeah.
Sahil, right?
Yeah. Just one question. So you said about spreading into different markets. I do have a co-founder who's a resident in the US. you also expanded it to the UK. From a UK perspective, because it is a highly regulated market, and that is what my product is about. So, do you think it makes sense to even have a plan of one of the co-founders relocating to the UK in the new future?
If your product is built for UK for their regulations, yes, why not?
My product supports GDPR, UK, and EU. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? It's a great market. May not be as big as US. It's a great market, and it's actually center of the world from time zone perspective. So managing US from there, managing Asia from there is actually much easier. So yes, absolutely. And London is a great city. Although don't stay in London, to stay a little suburb so that cost is lesser. But yes, still the cost is on you. Yes, but be very careful about hiring in UK or European market, because hiring is easy. Letting go that individual is not that easy. So be very careful about that aspect. There are actually options of hiring through PEO, etc., where you are not then sort of focused too much in those aspects of HR.
So from the market validation perspective, say we are building for MSME loans currently. So in NBFCs, 10 NBFCs have 90% of the market share. Okay. And then rest of 10% is divided around 40-50 NBFCs. Okay. So as per your strategy, start with small, then mid-market, then go to enterprise. So how do you suggest onboarding Bajaj and then onboarding 5 small NBFCs? How would the validation look like? If you onboard Bajaj, that works. So should be also onboard 5 10 small or mid-market, mid-size NBFCs.
That was a strategy for US. For India, access to such companies is far easier comparatively. So if you have access to one of the top 10, go to one of the top 10, tell them that you want them to be their customer advisory board member, help them build your product, give them some discount. And while you give the discount, tell them to come on your podcast or social media, give raving reviews. Obviously, if you deliver business value to them, and that would open up the ecosystem for you. But if it is India, cost is already incurred. Might as well go for the top 10. Na?
And how did you deal with this value versus currently what we have figured out that Bajaj has some pods, like agentic pods in some different pods that they are working on. So the first thing that we question that we get from them is we are building this. So we tell them this is the feature that we are adding, and this requires this much of time and value, and this will keep changing going forward. So that is the value we'll add to your product. So I want to know your opinion, how should we approach this?
Every large enterprise that you go to today, in India especially, either they will say they already have it, or they will say they were building it. The key aspect here is that if you're talking to Bajaj Finance or Bajaj General Insurance or Bajaj Life, what is their core business? Their core business is to deliver finance products to the consumer. They are not a product company building tech. Today, they may have an equivalent product like you have, but they are not a product organization. Tomorrow, you may enable a DeepSeek into your product and an India-based large language model, something that our friend here, Varun, I think, is building. You may incorporate that in your product, but you have the vision of enhancing your product constantly because that's your bread and butter. Bajaj will never be able to take that product roadmap because that's not their DNA as an organization.
So our pitch is correct. So
absolutely. Just go hard with it. The way to turn this around would be, hey, listen, we understand you have something that we already have, but we are constantly investing in this. We are here to solve not only this problem, but there are other problems in our organization which will be similar in nature, which we can come and help you with. What we would like to do is be our customer advisor here, help us build this, and in return, we'll get you some discounts, etc. Bajaj loves that. Take that story of giving some discounts and it should work.
How you suggest onboarding the CRO as an advisor?
Go ahead.
We get a perk meeting using that strategy.
Yeah, but be very careful about the compliance. When you talk about bringing someone as an advisor, only in kind.
Yeah.
Okay. Not in cash. Yeah. Correct.
So actually, like we are building from India for the world. This was my strategy to core myself. But while talking with many other people around my friends circle and senior also, they suggested that you should register in US because there is billing issue and all. But there was my question, like if that is the issue, then how UK or Australia is like handling it. So is there any issue I'm having the headquarter India and subsidiary later on in future if required at US or anywhere? That is very confusing for you. I'm getting right now.
I think Nitin can also easily. Yeah, we can take that separately.
Yeah, we get tomorrow. We have a set. We have a set on this.
So, but otherwise, start in India. It's not a problem. But if you want to flip quickly rather than flipping later in B, C, D round, that's very costly now. So, if you want to start in India, start, but flip it very, very quickly after that. And if you're delivering something in financial services, then don't flip. If your market is India, then let it be.
Hi, myself Bali from UTX. So as you highlighted the importance of having pivot and hook in as well, right? When you are building a company. My question is how do you retain that, right? Because if you are bringing exceptionally good talent, they'll be having their own ambition, right? So will you reach to Series A, Series B? How you regain those risks?
Very tough, especially when Meta is throwing around $100 billion bonuses. Tough to compete. Think the best strategy to retain that kind of a talent is to as a co-founder, as a CEO, keep them engaged on your vision. Strategize your vision together. It's very important. People need to just feel connected. And for such folks, eventually money will come through because I'm sure you will be providing stock options and all other benefits along with that. What is very important is to keep them really engaged on the vision of the company. What you want to build, how you're solving that problem, how your company will grow, how your company go global. And that is very, very important. If the initial set of members are hooked onto that vision, I think that it becomes much easy. Because trust me, you will never be able to beat the money game. There will always be the next company who will be paying more. That happens to us all the time. There will always be a next company that is paying more. So communication, communication, and communication. And communication around that vision is perhaps the only way I think, such group of cohort of people will stick together. Money cannot solve that problem. Any last questions before we do a quick rapid fire? People are waiting for their...
I know, but we have to do this. Sir. All right, Gauri, if you can jump in if you have some rapid fire. We always do this with guests. So, here we go. We have to go very quick. What's the boldest decision you've made that paid off?
Don't jump from the balcony. You were third, fourth year of Uniphore, I guess.
Right. Any mentor who has made a big difference to your life?
Professor Jhunjhunwala and John Chambers. Perhaps equal contribution.
What's the best thing you've learned from John Chambers?
Think big and take care of the team.
What's the best thing you've learned from Professor Jhunjhunwala?
Execute all the time. Just execute.
Any book or a piece of writing that has made an impact on your life?
There's a fantastic book called Art of War by Sun Tzu. There are some brilliant strategies there. One should read it.
What's your favorite productivity hack?
There are two of them. One, just before going into the meeting, I invariably would go to the washroom. John actually taught me this. Look in front of the mirror and, just clear your voice. But more importantly, think about the 3 outcomes that you want from that meeting. And it does not matter, especially with customer meetings and investor meetings, just be very clear about the 3 outcomes you want to achieve. Brilliant hack, I think. Just one of the best hacks. The second hack, again, John taught me this. Every Friday evening, look back at your calendar and think of the meetings that you could have not done and still sort of got your work done. The ones that just consume your time and not giving any output. So every week, just constantly, clear up your calendar and be more and more productive.
What do we do for fun?
I like to travel apart from business travel. So one is travel with family, play Xbox and cricket with my son.
If not this space, I know you mentioned that this is the entirety of your work experience. But if not this space, is there something else you would like to build a company in today?
I will not start any of the company. One is enough. I probably could have done something else. Yeah, not starting a company, but probably, I mean, these days, one can make money out of travel vlogging. So I could have done that. I love to travel. I could have done some good travel videos, put it up on YouTube, earn some money out of it, but not like a company. Right? It's too much pressure.
Actually, that was my last one. If you want a founder,
It's from me.
Yeah.
What's your favorite AI tool that you use? Jay?
AI tool, standards of ChatGPT and Grok, etc. All that is fine. I love to use Notebook LM. It's a pretty good book. I use that quite often.
20 years back, you bet on conversational AI when I got not even a 10. If you were bet on one area of trace trader, what would that be?
It's a loaded question, right? One answer would not help. But I think if you think about AI, right, and this is a great cohort, some brilliant stuff that you guys are doing. Think of the full stack. And when you think about the full stack, right, it starts with the bare basics of rare earth materials like magnets to AI chips to data center to assembly to energy to then AI platform, then data, then vertical apps. There's a full stack around it, right? So 20 years from now, I think India can build $100 billion market cap startups or companies which started across this entire value chain, in my opinion.
and yeah, that's a really interesting thought. Little bit on that note, last two questions. When you look at the conversation around AI, what's most underrated? What's most overrated?
I think what's most underrated today is people just thinking AI. The most underrated aspect around AI is that you just don't go and say I'm solving something on AI. Are you really solving it or not? Is the big question. So have a proof of the pudding that you've solved some problem. The most overrated is just anyone and everyone saying that I'm doing AI as well. Right? It's just writing a .ai in your website does not mean that you're just launching something on AI. Right? Go deep. I think with the talent that we have now, 3 years from now, even better talent that we'll have going forward, I think what we are doing is we're thinking very small. Very small. Trust me, I go to US every 45 days. The ideas that are floating out there vis-a-vis what is floating out here in India, I think we can do much more. So we are actually underrated there and overrated in solving some very small pointed problems.
Any one or two that you heard recently in the US that you think were like blowing your mind?
There is a company which actually is just building magnets for AI chips and semiconductors. It's cruising at $1 billion revenues today. Imagine, just small aspect of it. We are talking about semiconductors being built in India. Go one level below and see what you can do there. Then go one level up, which is energy. Oh my God, the number of companies which are building energy solutions today, including small reactors, which even today I think India will enable or has enabled for private companies to build their own small reactors for energy solutions. There can be enormous amount of potential out there as well. So when I talk about AI, I look at this cohort, right? We are still talking about pointed solutions. We're still talking about large language models, etc. Tell me one problem a large language model has solved, barring the search problem. Really, you cannot name one in a way which is holistically solved a big problem. So I think there is much more to do. We're just at the early stage, but I think India has great potential.
Last question, your timeline for easier.
Well, if you ask Elon Musk, it's already here with his new Grok model. But I think Asia is probably a year away from now, not more than that. I think ASI, which is super intelligent, is probably about 3-4 years from now. But if you look at specific problems, the current models that we have can solve, especially enterprise-specific problems can be solved with the current models itself.
Awesome. Guys, I know we're ready for dinner.
Thank you so much, Ravi. This was a fascinating conversation. Glad we covered such a wide sweep. Thank you for making the time. Thank you. Nice for hand.